Yeah. Yeah. And I struggled when we first started talking about putting this program together. I struggled with sort of the main points of sort of interaction that we wanted to focus on because, as we've ascertained, CMC touches so many different aspects of the drug development process. So I'm going to lean into you guys to kind of help guide me because it's not a clean line, is it? It's not always just a clean kind of check off the boxes as you go. So if I stray too far off course, you guys let me know. But I want to talk a little bit about process development because, like Blair, as you ascertain, like early stages of Ph.D. is when we start thinking in earnest about developing our CMC approach. So if we're agreeing that CMC is generally defined, and again, try to give a tidy definition, right? But if we're agreeing it's generally defined as manufacturing processes, as defining manufacturing practices and product specifications that must be followed and met in order to ensure product safety and consistency between batches. Let's talk about how specifically CMC and process development work together to begin, even at the early stages, to begin enabling that. I want to get a sense for what that infrastructure and interaction looks like.
So for the organizations I've worked for, which have been generally mid-size or smaller organizations, process development, CMC were wrapped up in the same organization.
Mm-hmm.
So from just an infrastructure standpoint, it's real easy in that regard because at this point I oversee both of those. But more to more your point, it's really getting CMC scientists involved with process development early on to not necessarily not to guide process development and what they're doing, but to help them understand the requirements that are going to be needed for a product. So we have an understanding of what the manufacturing scale is going to be looking like. We also understand some of the quality attributes that need to be there from our interactions with discovery. Non-clinical information is coming in, so we understand some of the impurity profiles that are going to be there. And as we develop that process with PD, we can feed them this kind of information of, these are the glycosylation patterns we need to try to attain. These are the impurity profiles we need to attain. And how can we work with you to develop that process that will now be able to be scalable? Because the worst that happens is PD develops a great small scale model that we can't scale up. And that doesn't even go into the account of scaling up is going to be its own nuances that aren't always ascertained in the small scale models. So it's being able then to dynamically feed that information back and forth between pilot organizations, PD organizations, manufacturing organizations, to be able to move that data back and forth so they understand at the end of the day, how do we better develop that full continuous process that we can reproducibly manufacture now for the drug substance in this case.
Yeah, and I'm curious about that data. You just brought it up, the data exchange, the exchange of information, right? Like CMC is saying, here are A through Z, 26. I know there are more. I'm just saying A through Z for tidy metrics, attributes that we need to attain. Let's make this happen with process development. Process development works on it. It's not, it's iterative. It's not a like one, okay, we just did it. We went back to the lab and we did it. Here you go. What is the venue for the maintenance of that data? What has it traditionally been and where's it headed?
So for us, traditionally, it's been, hard notebooks, individual servers that ultimately everyone has to get together in a conference room to be able to have a multi-day hammer out. This is what the data is kind of meaning. We're moving towards, with electronic laboratory notebooks, better IT infrastructures, and now better software platforms, from statistical platforms to more integrated data management platforms that allow us to better not only share the data, but share the analysis of the data, and to be able to have those interactive comment sessions now on the data in real time, um, in a virtual environment, actually, that allows for more rapid discussion and augmentation of the experiments, and that iterative process becomes a lot more dynamic, and doesn't become as lagging a factor. So we've been investing in a lot of that kind of IT infrastructure and novel software platforms that help us bring the data together so we can actually get more information from the data that, going back, 20 years when we were just relying on standalone programs, um, you had the bias of whatever the scientist was doing the analysis, that was what you got.
Hmm.
Now it's the platforms are allowing us to be much more collaborative in that analysis of the information.
Yeah. Brian, I saw you nodding your head there as Blair was speaking. Did you have something to concur with?
Oh no, it's just I absolutely agree. It's just the uh, methods that we have in this day and age to do data analysis, to do more real time sharing of the analysis, and so on and so forth is really making the whole CMC and the regulatory submission process much more data driven.